Real Street Files has a great question about creativity and relaxing. As a creator with ADHD, they say, I'm lucky to be in a position where my creative passion has turned into how I make a living. While I am beyond grateful, I often find it hard for my brain to hit the off switch. Taking a day, an hour, or even just a few minutes to relax feels like a chore. Do you have tips or tricks on practicing the art of relaxing? Yes, I do. I have the same issues. And I think there are all sorts of reasons that we can have trouble. There are all sorts of reasons that I can have trouble relaxing. And I've talked about this in the past. For the largest portion of a creative person's life, the amount of time they get to spend in their studio is always a fight. Look, there are some situations in which people are able to build out a studio reality that is not a fight with the rest of their lives. But in my experience, when you do something as strange as exploring your own creative proclivities in a space without guidance or boundaries, so you're going to go into a shop for 8 hours and you don't know what you're going to do when you get there, and you don't know how it's going while you're there. It means that when someone comes to you and says, hey, can you have lunch on Tuesday? Or can you do this thing with me? It's sometimes hard to say no, because I need to go do this thing that I don't know what it is and doesn't have a structure yet. But like carving out that time, it can be hard to do. It can be hard to do in your relationship. It can be hard to do because of your job. For me, it was both. I've had partners who were upset with how much time I spent in my shop. I've had jobs that took all of my energy. And for the longest time, getting into my shop was a scarcity model. And by that, I mean, every moment I got to spend in the shop felt like it was jealously guarded. And I mean, like, the United States is no stranger, as Americans are no strangers to the scarcity model. Like, late stage capitalism is itself a scarcity model. Like, this thing you like, it's going away soon. You better enjoy it right now while it lasts. So there are a lot of reasons one can feel an outsized amount of responsibility to take what free time there is and execute the endless to-do list in any of our brains. And I got a real lesson in this when we wrapped MythBusters. So we knew we were wrapping MythBusters about a year before we did, which is rare in reality television. And as we were gearing up for the wind down, I did a show with the Thrilling Adventure Hour people at Brava Center for the Arts over here in the Mission District. And I was backstage with Paget Brewster, the inimitable, amazing Paget Brewster. Just one of my favorite humans, one of my favorite performers. She's so smart and so brilliant and so freaking funny. Insane. Anyway, Paget says to me, hey, how's the show going? And I said, we're wrapping it this year. And she was like, oh, sweetie, you're going to go insane. And she was like, she had been on CSI for 6 years, and breaking that cycle sort of threw her for a real loop. And she was giving me that perspective. And I'm so grateful for her for doing that for me. And still, it didn't prepare me for what it was like to not have to go to the show every day. Because, again, we didn't have an off season on MythBusters. We shot pretty much year round for 13 years. And about a week into so we wrapped MythBusters in early November of 2015. Then Jamie and I leave for a national tour that was like 5 weeks, which was just stupid. Because energy-wise, it was really exhausting. And we get back just before Christmas, and then Christmas happens, family comes to stay, and January 3rd happens, and I go to the cave, and I go there for a week, and at the end of that week, again, this is me without a job, my wife says, you are getting up every day at like 8 and bolting over to the shop. And my question is, she said, do you have to? And I was like, oh, wow, maybe I don't have to bolt to the shop every day. Maybe I can take some time and purposely use it here at the house. And that started a process of waking up without an alarm. On many mornings, we wake up without an alarm because we will wake up sometime. Well, we're always going to wake up around 7 to feed Maggie because she'll just jump on my groin to wake me up, which she did this morning. And then we're always going to wake up around 8:30 to 9, and I'll go get us coffee and we'll hang out for a little bit, and then I'll come into the cave. But I had to like add that to my repertoire, and it took a while before it felt comfortable. And now I get this question a lot at the Comic Cons, and when I do Q&As of like, do you have a productivity philosophy to get so much stuff done? And I often surprise people by saying, yeah, I'm always thinking about stuff I'm working on. So I'm often doing research or sketching on any given evening or any given plane flight. But on nights and weekends, I do a lot of not doing. And I am frequently, if I check in, I feel a little guilty when I am not doing. And I recognize it as really vital for the doing, that I need to have days where I am just sitting around my house. Like this weekend, I did a lot on Saturday. I did all the laundry I hadn't done for a month, which took about 3.5 solid hours, which is great. I love laundry. We got a great laundry room. You can see it in the video where I add a wooden countertop to my laundry machines. And that room is just one of my favorite rooms, and it's a great place to spend some time. So Saturday, this last weekend, I was in there for 3.5 hours. And then we've got some red lights on the side of our house that are really lovely. And I've done several iterations of these lights. They hang among some of the plant matter around our house. I'm trying to be circumspect so you don't come try find my house. That's all. And I've done several iterations of these lights. And Saturday I had a new set of the spheres that went around the lights, and I installed them, and they exceeded all my expectations. I'm so happy with how it's laid out now. And then Sunday I did absolutely nothing. I read a little. I endlessly scrolled. I took a couple of baths, because I often take a couple of baths on the weekends. And the most important part for me about the not doing is the repeatedly forgiving myself from inside here for not doing. Like, you need to do this. This is part of how you maintain your structural integrity of your mind and your creativity. I believe that. So the way you phrase this, taking a day, an hour, even just a few minutes to relax feels like a chore. I appreciate that you have looked at each of those increments of time. And what I'm here to say is that it's not like within those you are going to feel relaxed at first, but they are really important to your overall mental well-being, i.e. the balance of activation versus relaxation. So I often don't feel super relaxed in the middle of not doing, but I also recognize it as vital for survival. It's a marvelous question. And, this is all part of the going easy on ourselves. I view it as really important to go easy on myself. I am my worst critic. And the internal critic, you can hear him in my videos. You can hear me going, idiot. That's this other, that's an input. That's one of the inputs. And whether you pay attention to those inputs is everything. And for me, I grow better able to let those inputs go past me when I am well spread in my relaxation activation matrix. Real Street Files, good luck. That is, that's real. I wanted to talk about going easy on yourself. Chris with 2 S's, says, your book had a huge impact on me and how I see and organize my workshop. The time I spent searching for tools in my chaos has been replaced with the time improving organization, building cabinets, etc. And it's so addictive that I still can't get more projects done. How do you prevent yourself from getting distracted by quick side projects that render half your workshop unusable because everything is spread out? Well, I don't prevent myself from that. I came in this morning, this table was clear. And then I met up with Norm, and Norm was like, is the table clear? And I'm like, the table is clear. And I walked back here, it was totally not clear. It was like a mound of stuff. And that was like in the 15 minutes I was here before I went and talked to Norm. So all I want to say is, truthfully, I'm going to tell you that I make a gatekeeping distinction in my head between the things that I make out of the cave, like the Demon Core case, which hasn't even aired yet, and stuff like that, and the infrastructure stuff. And I place the infrastructure stuff slightly lower there than I do the making stuff. And I don't think I should. In me, the same creative process is happening. We just put up the video of the Sortimo sorting. And since I completed that video like 10 days ago. I have been continuing to sort my Sortimos every day since then. We've got these files for half-deep Sortimo sorters, so you can get 2 in the same depth as a normal one. And for small runs of parts where there's like just a few and they're tiny, this is spectacular. I keep printing more and more of these because I'm going through and adding more and more headroom to the various things. Plus, I added the wheel, which we're going to cover, and like, so. I am not sure how much value there is in preventing yourself from getting distracted doing the infrastructure things, because I think the same creative nourishment is happening regardless of what is getting built.
Thank you for watching. I wanted to talk to you about Tested membership. The Tested members are a key community that we find really, really remarkable. That's very separate from Tested and from YouTube. The Tested members, they buy each other memberships during our live streams. So if you're wondering whether to become a member, watch one of our live streams and someone may just give you one. It is hard to overestimate how much the Tested members actually make possible on this channel. They give us a lot of wiggle room. They give us a huge amount of feedback.
That's a member right now.
Thank you so much for enjoying your membership. Description for everything you need to know. And for all the members out there, thank you, thank you, thank you.